Good morning. Today it's Sunday, almost the end of June. I promised a friend of mine that I'm going to do my first YouTube video before mid-June, which we did, and that was something. The other video was sort of successful, at least beyond my expectations. So thank you for those who commented about that. I noticed last time that my frame was I was too much within the frame, or my phone was too far near me. So I guess we live and we learn. Thank you. Today we're going to do a video from based on the chapter Romans 8 verse 28, or on fate and destiny. I mean, I've been trying to think about what to do next, and it is intimidating. At least from the standards which we set last time, I was thinking of perhaps I could choma. I could do something worse. So Romans 8 verse 28, I think it's a common verse. It says, "And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose." Or his purposes. So I remember my Form 4. I didn't do so well in Form 4, or at least not according to my expectations. And I thought I was cooked for life. I didn't get an A, for instance. I got a B plus, but at that time, the grades were not so good in the country, but I mean, that was not something I was expected to get, not even by my parents, not by my teachers, not even by myself. So I thought I'd doomed myself forever. And at about the same time, I went to my primary school. We were with my sister was still in school. So my mentor at that time was like, don't worry about these things. God is just going to make a way. God is going to make these things work for you. And true to our words, I actually got picked to a course in medicine in a different university than the one which I'm in now. And that was funny. I mean, people who had more marks than me did not get picked to that course. Okay. And then at about the same time, my parents allowed me to go apply for medicine in the school I'm in now, in as the parallel program or the module 2 program. And there was not enough money at that time. So my dad got a promotion, which was providential. And I was like, just go to school. We're going to figure this out. And then by the time I was in first year, yeah, I was okay. I was okay in the first semester, got A's and stuff. But then I still failed the year because at some point I got nervous, and I guess I just gave up. I got depressed, stopped going to classes. I just stopped doing things which I used to do. Okay. And then over time, I got to pick up with school, and my first year was okay. Then second year was okay. Then third year was okay. But third year there was an issue with the school, which sort of landed me another fail, that was devastating, at least because of how people reacted to it. They're like, "Oh, you're not studying. People are paying for you to do this, and you're not serious." So, to a big extent, that was the one. That was the one repeat I really felt to my core. Okay, yeah. But looking back, after the year, I actually got back my job at the driving school, and at the specific time in which I was serving in that driving school, there are people I met at that time, and we got to do lots of things. So, looking back, I think Kierkegaard said that life is lived forwards but understood backwards. Okay, yeah, maybe it was my mistake to fail that year. I guess, I guess getting 80s is not enough or something. And I thought it was my mistake, which perhaps could be true, and also the mistake in the part of the school or something. But all the same, it was overly painful for me. My parents doubted me, at least my resolve. And in med school, I don't know what happens. I think people are overly fixated on maintaining some image. So when you fail a class, the people you were with in that class stop talking to you, just like that. Okay. There is no explanation. There are no letters. It's just like they don't stop to you. They just stop talking to you. Even in the streets, when you see them, it's as though you don't exist. So that was painful for me. Okay. And I've had this from other friends who perhaps deferred or got sick or did not do exams, did specials, and it's like the same treatment. Okay, it should be understandable because medical students obviously have always been like the best in their classes from nursery school, which is typical for all of us. It's nothing special. So I guess many of them cannot really deal with failure or don't know how to relate with someone who is in a bad place. I, for one, did not know how to do that until when I failed and I had to, I had to, I had to learn how to become a human being again. Like it was that bad. It was that bad. And some students, when they feel that they're going to fail, they just chuck out of the race, which I think is typical of many of us. I know people who dropped out of first year and they have never joined any school till now. So there's that. Okay, so that's my story in a nutshell. I think I've written about that in my blog. One day, if I want to, I could link the blogs up in this platform. Okay. So Romans 8:28. The lady read me. She's now she has like a government position. She's with with a driver and entourage of a fleet of cars, something. So the verse which she read me was like, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose. So what things work for the good of those who love God? All things, okay? The good things, the bad things, the average things, the normal things, all these things work together for the good of those who love God. And that is a difficult concept, especially when you're young. When I was 19, like, what do you mean all things work together for my good? I have not passed my Form 4. Then here I am, I'm struggling in first year. And campus is, at least public, being in a public university is somewhat complicated. There are so many things there are so many moving parts, okay? You're somewhat worried about food, you're worried about sleep, you're worried about, I think there's a day I didn't have a place to sleep in school. And yeah, before that time, I'd never thought about accommodation. But accommodation is such a big thing. I think the basic needs in junior primary school was shelter, food, and or was it clothing or something? So shelter is a major. When you can't sleep well, it means a lot. It means you can't rest. The next day you're not very well rested. You probably crashed in somebody's place. And for someone like me, I was like an only son for my entire life. So I never knew how to share rooms with people and all that. Like, why would someone, I mean, why would someone get up at 3 a.m. to walk around the room? Why would someone why would someone play their music on full blast, So it was just difficult to learn how to share rooms with people. But overall, I think this verse is true. All things work together for good. Because I remember some weeks ago, I gave a talk to some junior students, and I got people inbox me to talk to me about what I'd said, okay? To ask for help on how to navigate failure, for instance. I have a friend who said that one of the best articles she ever read from me was the article on how to fail correctly. Okay, I don't think there's a correct way of failing, but that was, I think it was me playing on words on how to, just make sense of going from a genius to a failure. I think it's a thing. It's a big thing. It's a big thing. We, again, as medical students, or as, should I say, precocious students, we we live being defined by our ability to learn things, okay? Or just to reproduce what you've learned. So when that is taken from you, it's devastating. It's a big thing, okay? So I would understand people who've never come back to med school, because I mean, I've thought about that for a while myself, okay? Yeah, and I mean, there are people who lose sleep over the fact that it's possible for them to fail, which again is understandable. If failing means you're losing your friends, your family, and even your church mates, then who would want to fail, for instance? Okay, I think there's such a big negative association to failure that we we dread the idea of failing. Okay, so I thought to say this story just to add should I say, some credibility to what I'm going to speak. Last year was difficult for me. That was the year I had failed that year. Mind you, I was failing for the second time, okay? Someone who's never failed before, failing twice in med school, okay? I had 48 in a paper and 48 in another paper. My cards were okay, but end of year, I was sick and all that, so I could not pass, okay? So getting a 48 pass mark is 50. So if you have two 48s, that means you're getting an automatic receipt. And you're receiving like the entire year, okay? And for someone who is in module 2, that is expensive for the people who pay your fee, okay? Yeah, but who cares? Who cares whether you're sick or not? You just failed, whatever. That's done, okay? Before your friends, you're a failure, and God knows, man, this is difficult. So I remember I'd stay in my room at least the first 2 weeks of coming to school. I think the hardest part about failing school is showing up again, like coming back, People in church are like, what's wrong? Are you okay? I mean, you should have asked that during the exam period, not after exams. And now everybody wants to speak to you. Now everybody wants to counsel you. And I think the most hurtful part about that is nobody really wants to listen to you. They want to talk back to you. Should be serious. I mean, I've been reading the Bible since I was a kid, so what don't I know about diligence and hard work and duty over inclination and tradition and emotion? I know those things, okay? I know where they're in the Bible, okay? I get it. So just coming back to school, that is that was a big thing for me. So when I came to school, I got a different room from the one I'm in now. I've stayed in this place since 2019. It's international organization. This room was built in 1915, so looks decent. But I lived in the next room with a Ugandan roommate. So yeah, I think I was in a bad place. I never watch movies, but I got a Netflix account. I'd watch. I think I downloaded TikTok at some point. I don't mean TikTok is bad, but for those of you who are interested in human psychology, you know that there's something called spectacles. Okay, spectacles are that which get the eyes. Those those videos, the highlight reel, okay? The highlight reel, you don't post a picture of you washing your utensils in on on Instagram or Twitter and expect to get likes for that, okay? You post that picture when you are climbing a mountain top, for instance, okay? Or when you suddenly fell in love with your crush or something. Like, you don't post the normal particulars of your life. You post that which get the eyeballs, okay? That which is beyond normal. Again, you post spectacular things, okay? So our brains, I can say, are wired to look out for spectacles, okay? So spectacles, they rarely happened often, okay? Previously, you would look out for spectacles, okay? You'd travel to go and see maybe a fight between two boxers or something. Or Olympic Games were played like once in a year. So that was the spectacle of the year. Or in Rome, gladiator fights, they were not like a common occurrence, apart from in the time of Commodus, for instance, when he wanted to dull the minds of the crowds, okay, by giving them like constant entertainment. In the antediluvian world, or in the pre-Neolithic times, the elites of that time actually engaged the masses in constant entertainment to keep them from that which was coming, okay? So if history repeats itself, the Romans did that. The Roman elite actually came up with constant round of entertainments to keep people from thinking about what was going on at that time. So this is not a conspiracy, but in this age also, people have invented constant entertainments to keep us from ourselves, okay? If you're watching a YouTube video of let's say somebody just speaking like this, like, it takes a lot of discipline to do this. But if I was to do a video of myself jumping over rocks, falling into waters filled with sharks and crocodiles, then you'd watch that video for longer. So I mean, I think there's a book I read when I was slightly younger. It was called Amusing Ourselves to Death, okay? It has been shown again in the labs that rats, which their dopamine centers, the limbic system. I don't have to go to the medicine of that. So their dopamine centers in the brain, when they keep being excited, rats were shown to they could actually keep pressing on the levers till they died. Okay, they could excite themselves to death. They could, in a word, amuse themselves to death. Okay, so humans are not very different. Okay, I mean, we work in a hospital, and the biggest cause of lung cancer is smoking. Okay, it's not genetics, I don't know, familial, environmental, eating meat or something. It's smoking. Okay, so a smoker is going to smoke until one day they come in with lung cancer, and lung cancer is swift. Okay, kills someone in a very short time. So I think if if you are more politically incorrect, you just write in the epitaph that this guy amused himself to death. Okay, and anything good in life requires some bit of hard work and some bit of discipline, some bit of resistance. Okay, if something came easy, then it's probably not virtuous. It's probably not good. Okay, yeah. So there was that school, failing school, and all that. It was difficult. So I remember I got back to TikTok, Netflix, these things, and I just spend my days watching these things. And yeah, maybe I'm to be blamed for doing that, which was weak of me. Yeah, but then over time, I guess took like a month or 2 weeks in that dark space where I won't eat as much, I won't sleep, I won't as sort of addicted. I was looking for something to numb my pain. Okay. But in the room, I was like, when he gave me his story and how he rose from, should I say, zero to a good place. And that was encouraging. Looking back, I think that was providential, that I missed my room to find another room. And I found a guy who was there. He was earning like lots of money. So the place he was staying in was, I mean, he should not have been staying there. Okay. But I met him at that point so that he helped me. If I had stayed alone during that time, I would have harmed myself. Okay. Or at least I think by the time he found me in the evening, I'd not eaten from morning. Okay. Brought me food, got me on my feet, shower and all that. So I think that was providential. So yeah, I think I know what it is to lose human contact and to lose your sense of self. Okay. If you've defined yourself on one thing and then that one thing crashes for the second time, I mean that's big. Okay. That was big for me. Okay. Yeah, I don't feel as much pain doing this video, but at that time I could not tell anyone. I think I wrote one article on that. I think I called it The Look and the Stare. I termed it from some YouTube video I watched at that time. So yeah, at that period I could not see how that was meant to be of benefit to me. Then at about that time I wanted to learn how to do how to listen to audiobooks, okay? So there's a book I was listening to, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frank. I'd read it some few times before, but I had never understood what the book means, okay? Some phrase says, the meaning of life is not to be found in meditation, but in right action, okay? It is not, life is not asking you, or duty is not asking you. You're not done asking life, what's the meaning of life? It's you who is being asked by life, what's the meaning of life? So if life gives you failure, then what is required of you is to how should you handle that failure. For instance, if life gives you success, then the meaning of life is found in taking the right action to order that success or that failure or that relationship or something like that. So it's an inversion of the question. It's not you asking life, it's life asking you. Okay, it's not you asking God what's the meaning of all these things. It's God asking you. Yeah, like Job, you've lost your family, you've lost your friends, you've lost all these things. So what should you do? Should you curse God? Should you curse God and die? Or should you rejoice in suffering? I don't think anybody should rejoice in suffering. I don't think that's pragmatic. There's a verse which says something like that. I take joy in my tribulations. Should be by Paul. Okay. Not that it's possible to be happy during a tribulation, but from the implication that actually God saw that you are worthy of suffering. Okay. I think there's a book by this guy who wrote Crime and Justice, who wrote The Notes from Underground, Fyodor Dostoevsky. He said that his biggest fear is that he be found to be unworthy of his suffering. Okay. And I think the book gave me high resolve to be worthy of my suffering. And yeah, I hope I was, or I think I, hopefully. So yeah, we did the year again, and it was just still difficult. Like going back to school, just attending the lectures, learning how to ask for help. That is a big thing. Learning how to ask for help. I mean, I think everybody should be taught that at some point. Asking for help. I think it's a major lesson. It's something everyone should learn. Okay, but my lessons were erratic and all. I'd pray and all that. And over time, I learned how to ask for help. Not, not, not in an in a seamless way, but in a way that is continuously attempting to improve. Okay, begging is of course a criminal offense, but asking for help is not. It's actually virtuous. Okay, human beings are cannot human beings are not independent. Okay, I think I've heard this story of independent women, independent men. Like, no, independence is a myth. Okay, it's impossible to be independent as a human being. Okay, I need people to make this microphone. I need people to make this shirt, this jacket, this phone, this light here. I need people to build this house. I need people to construct the bed, carpenters to wash my room. I mean, what do you mean independence? Independence from what? I mean, what is independence? Just because you can feed yourself, is that independence? Like, you need the farmer to grow the crops, then you need the people who transport the food to your place. Then you need, perhaps if you don't cook your food, someone to cook that food for you. But if you cook your food, you also still need people to make the oven, the gas. I mean, independence. Like, independence of what? What do you mean? That's a misnomer. It's a myth. Okay, we are interdependent. Of course, people can be codependent, which again I've come to see it's actually people are codependent is because of abuse mostly. Nobody wants to be codependent. Okay, it's it's circumstantial. Of course, if you are codependent, it's something you have to unlearn. Again, it's something you can learn. It's not, you're not fated to be codependent. It's something you can learn. Okay, so I think the last year dragged so slowly, and then towards the end of the school year, again there was an error which had been made in my portal. Now I could not sit for my exams, at least the end of year exams, and now everybody was worried. They're like, "Oh, so you actually never registered for units?" and uh, and that is something. That is something. That is something. Like, you've been to all these offices for almost 2 months, day after day, day after day, and the conclusion they make is you never tried to do this. You're like, oh, I mean, you cannot give explanations to what you've been doing because, well, it did not succeed. So you just never did it, I think. I think I've been in boards before where people say that if it was not documented, then it was never done. You're like, oh, fascinating of you to imagine that. Like, if something was not written down, then it was not done. So I should have written down that, oh, I went to the dean's office, I went to the bursar's office, I went to these things. So I did not do my exams. I did a special exam. Special exams are tricky, but looking back, I perhaps that was useful because I mean I study a lot towards the end of the semester, and at that time I had taken almost 60% of my daytime just going from office to office to office to office. It was a very small error, but I just could not figure out why nobody wanted to fix it. Yeah, it was actually fixed some few weeks ago. Like, it took almost 13 months for one thing to be fixed. I mean, if God had wanted it, it should have been fixed like in a second, but I don't know why it had to drag for like 13 months. Yeah, but about the same time, I met people in the office, people who, I mean, failed 4 years in a row. Or not just failed, people get sick, people, there's so many stories I've come to learn. I think there was this time I was in the office, then there was a student who was in need of 2,000 shillings to register for exams. Like 2,000 shillings, about $20. I don't know. I'd never thought, I mean, scarcity, I mean, it was eye opening. I never knew people can lack 2,000 shillings. Yeah. I didn't have that at that time. I could have helped them, but 2,000 shillings, like, you miss an exam for $20. Yeah, so I hope. And this is a very random video, I should say. But yeah, I've learned things. I've seen I've seen what it means to be in a corner, and everybody else thinks you're a villain of sorts. Yeah, so now comes the verse. And you know that all things work for the good of those who love God and those who are called according to his purposes. So yeah, some people say, yeah, I'm not called according to God's purposes. And I think the Bible says the bride says, Jesus says comes, the bride says comes, the bridegroom says come, okay? So all people have been predestined to be saved, okay? Whether you're Muslim, whether you're bandit, whether you're Indian or something, Christian, Catholic, everyone has been predestined to salvation, okay? So all men have been called to salvation. The main purpose of God is salvation of man, okay? We have a sin problem. We If God comes now, no one is going to live. Like all of us have sin within ourselves, okay? It's the plan of redemption, the plan of salvation, which is our only hope, okay? We needed a redeemer to redeem us back from where we had fallen into, okay? Yeah, so all things, the good things, the bad things, the normal things, these are things which work for good. So for me, over my experience, I have learned that you don't need to despair when you're in a bad place. Okay? From the book Man's Search for Meaning, there's a place which Victor Frank says that a responsible hand guides thy fate. A responsible hand guides your fate. Your being in the world is not arbitrary. Okay? Your existence is not an arbitrary thing. It takes the hand of God to have you in the world at this time, okay? Perhaps even watching this video, maybe it's providential, right? Well, you could have watched something else, for instance. So, a responsible hand guides thy fate. I think there's a phrase by Amazon which says that all things go well. Well, I don't really believe that. I think generally things tend to go downward, okay, over time, okay? So, the humanistic belief that all things go well or things are going to be okay just because you want them to be okay, I don't think that's very true. I think it's actually active action and the hand of providence which is going to make things get good over time. Okay, but naturally things get worse over time. I mean, I think I think as seeing some statistic which show that since the inception of the pill, there have been 62 million abortions in the United States. You're like, well, I mean, whatever. I mean, 62 million deaths. Whatever. Oh, for medical students, life begins at conception, okay? So you can believe whichever the lawyers tell you, but life begins at conception. Okay? That's what it is, okay? If you cannot get me without the zygote, okay? So if you kill the zygote, you're killing me. That's fine, okay? So there was this story about death in Tehran. Death in Tehran. Um, I think I can try and narrate it if I can remember. Once upon a time, I think it's a myth from the Persians. So once upon a time, there was a rich and mighty Persian who had a slave, okay? Then this slave one day came back running to the house of the master and asked the master, or the master asked the servant, what's going on? Why are you rushing? And the servant said, I've met death in the field, and death scared me. So the slave said, give me your fastest horse so that I can run back to my home. The home was in a place called Tehran. Tehran, okay? Some spelling is Teheran. So The guy checks the fastest horse, runs to Charan. Then the master confronts Death, goes to the field, meets Death. Then the master asks Death, why did you threaten and terrify my servant? And Death said, I was surprised to meet your slave here when I expected to meet him tonight in Tehran. Okay, so I mean, the servant actually ran to the place where Death had planned to meet him. Back then, there were no phones, so we assume that he would probably died the same day. Okay, so as they say in philosophy, let things go as they may. Okay, let things, things will go as they must. Okay, of course you can pray and fast and all that, do your action, but there are things which are beyond us, and it's good to accept that. Okay, there are things which, no matter how much prayers you give, things are just going to go as they may. Okay, things will go as they must. What has happened, and now this is where you're beginning from. Okay, you're not beginning from when you're a genius. You're beginning from here. You're not beginning from when you didn't have, say, a divorce or a kid or a fracture or some diagnosis. You're beginning here where you are. Okay, we are not. What has happened has happened. Okay, you cannot revert back time. Like I failed school twice. Okay, I'm not beginning from high school. I'm beginning from where I am. Okay, okay. Again, we say that the meaning of life is not to be found in meditation, but in right action for that which has happened. Okay, so what should you do when you failed? I mean, obviously, get back, mourn your fail, go back to whatever you're doing. Try to get back there as quickly as possible. And the best way to do that is to mourn your fate really well. Okay. Alice Miller said that no work of healing occurs without the work of mourning. Okay. The next time you see people break up and someone is acting all fine, then you should be worried. Okay. But if people break up and the person is devastated, they're in tears all the time, yeah, you should be happy for that. Like, oh, somebody's feeling their pain. That's a good thing. But if they're not, then that's problematic. Okay. So this is the video. Death in Tehran, Romans 8:28, and we know that all things work together for those who love God. So during the driving school, I was able to talk to many people who had done high school, and yeah, there was a lot of meaningful conversation, and we did a lot together, which I think if I had passed the first time, I wouldn't have met these people where they were, and the friends I've made, which I made during the holiday, which I wouldn't have made otherwise if I'd passed the first time. And I think I'm more patient, perhaps humble, whatever humility means. I think humility, according to the works of Robert Moore, is just knowing that you're incomplete and asking for help. Okay, knowing that you're not divine. Okay, so people think that pride is, walking with your chin high, shoulders high, speaking confidently, but that's not pride. Pride is thinking that you're better than other people, which I think it's our natural human tendency. So it takes, like, in the Bible, you should believe actually that everybody else is better than you. I mean, regard other people as better than yourself, which I think that's why it's Christian. It's difficult. Okay. And by the philosopher Richard Taylor, pride is a justified love for oneself. Okay. So I think that's all. Uh, Always remember that a responsible hand guides your fate. Okay. A responsible hand guides thy fate. And your existence is not arbitrary. God is going to make things work together for your good. Okay. If I'd not gotten the fee problem, I won't have met people in the office who are lacking. I mean, foreign students have it really difficult in Kenyan schools. I had never learned that. Like, it's something I saw in the places, and it was heartbreaking. Okay. First they pay like more fee, and then generally they have more issues. than all of us. So yeah, and people are going to leave you. So anytime you see someone down there, like, I think it's good to talk to them. I mean, don't talk to me after this video. That would be affectation. Like, I'm not going to talk to you just because of that. Like, you showed me your character then, so keep it. Okay, so we can hope despite all this then. Okay. By the book, I used to watch a lot of movie reviews at that time from the channel, like Stories of World, and there's this video from the video Lord of the Rings, and it say that um, there is no darkness greater than the light. Okay, there's always hope. Yeah, there is no darkness greater than the light. So I can always hope. Yeah. So have a good day.